This time on the Low Boost Garage, we dropped the LS motor in the E36. Down some third wheel toe. So I am this close to putting this engine in. But first, before I do that, I gotta get a clutch. And I can't just get any clutch because I wanna go fast!
To anyone out there who wants to go fast, anybody,
I wanna go fast!
and get him a suit.
So thanks to Hook Performance, who really hooked me up, I got a flywheel and a McLeod RST Clutch, which is good for about 800 horsepower, which is more than what I'm gonna be trying to do with the build.
As far as putting it together, it is a little tricky if it's your first time, so take your time with it. You want to make sure you torque down all the bolts where they need to be. So first off was getting the old flex plate off, which as you can see in the photo here, I used the clamp and that was able to hold it in place for me to take the flex plate off. Next is actually getting a new pilot bearing in as well. Now you got to make sure when you go to the auto parts store you're specifying for what engine it came out of. Just because this was a GMC pickup truck going into a Pontiac GTO, I actually got two different pilot bearings because I wanted to make sure they were the right size. They are two different sizes. So once I figured out which one was the right pilot bearing, I returned the old one. Especially like me going to AutoZone, they're asking, oh, what do you need the part for? I'm like, well, it's a BMW, but the engine's out of a pickup truck and the transmission is out of a Pontiac GTO. What year, make, or model is it? Oh, God.
Hey there. Is there a project you're working on?
I know more than you.
All right.
I just bought two separate ones and returned the one that didn't work. The new flywheel goes on pretty easily. Make sure you take your time and torque to the specs that are given, depending on what clutch you go with. After that, you put your first clutch pack on. Make sure you use the little tool, the clutch alignment tool that comes in the kit. Then you put the second clutch pack on over it, followed by the housing that goes over it as well, and then everything gets tightened down, as you can see in the pictures. Once that's in, you're ready to mount your transmission up. While you're in there, you might as well do a new slave cylinder. So that's what I did. Before putting everything together, got a new slave cylinder, new lines, and I also got a speed bleeder so that I don't have to reach very far to bleed the clutch after everything's in there. It's just a little bit of peace of mind, great thing to do. Make sure you get a speed bleeder if you're going to be doing any transmission work. You might as well do this stuff while you're there. Also, because my transmission actually was out of a GTO, I had to get an F-body shifter cup prior to putting the MGW shifter on. Just the way it works, it's different size and it works a little different. There's a little hole punch to get the shifter cup out, and you want to use a little hammer, not a big hammer. I ain't talking Thor's hammer.
Put that hammer down.
Yeah, no.
Bad call. He loves his hammer.
You want me to put the hammer down?
But a little hammer to punch it out and to put the new one back in. So make sure you do the F-body shifter cup, because you could put the entire thing together and then you're going to be trying to do this through the tunnel of the shifter, and that's just going to be a pain in the butt. So you punch out and then you slide on the new one and put the punch back in. It took maybe all of 10 minutes, but make sure you have the right tools to do it or you can really break something. Make sure the shifter is all the way up as forward as far as it can go as well. You don't want to bend or break anything. At this point, it's also important to, when you're putting your New Age Hot Rods motor mounts on, or really any motor mounts, if you put the motor mounts on the engine, make sure you put them on loosely, that way you can line everything up, and then once the engine is dropped in, you can set it in correctly, and then tighten everything down. So that's what we did. Once that's done, you're essentially ready to mount the transmission up to it. However, just be careful when you do that, because if you have the transmission filled with transmission fluid, once you tip it back, it's going to fall out of the shaft where the drive shaft goes. Ask me how I know, because it fell out everywhere. So A quick way to fix that is actually if you stick your drive shaft in, it'll stop it. You just have to make sure that that doesn't fall out either, so we held it in with a zip tie temporarily. It's important when dropping the engine in that you walk it in and creep it in slowly. Especially for us, I had the drive shaft and transmission already attached to the thing, so it was just very important to just kind of walk it in very nice and slow and kind of make sure everything fits and it's not hitting anything. Very important to do that. I also got a leveler for the engine. That helped kind of keep things balanced, and it helped a lot getting it over the subframe mount, because the oil pan could hit that if you're not careful and it just doesn't line up right. So having a leveler is crucial for when you're swapping an LS in my opinion. Once the engine was in, I made sure I tightened everything down so everything was lined up just right, as well as the transmission. I did have to cut some of the transmission tunnel where the shifter is with some tin snips and move it up, but I barely had to do much and it fit in perfectly. I got the MGW clocked at 12 o'clock, which is the most forward facing you can on it. You have to have them do that from the factory when they ship it to you. You can't change it when it's there. So make sure you have them clock it at 12. They should know when you call them. But yeah, I used the MGW shifter. There's a couple of other shifters you could use, but MGW had good reviews and that's who I ended up going with.
You can see the mount fitting perfectly right over the engine. I mean, it doesn't get any nicer than that. Almost like it was originally designed to be there. It's just flawless execution by New Age Hot Rods. As you see, there is my oil return for the turbo as well. My speed bleeder, which I definitely recommend getting. Oil pan, oil filter, oil drain. These mounts are perfectly designed and they fit great. They even have some adjustments in case your car has been hit. So it doesn't, even if it doesn't fit perfect, you can line it up just right. So there's the transmission in. Once the engine and transmission is in, we buttoned up perfectly our New Age Hot Rods drive shaft that fit just right inside the LS swap.
As you can see from the photos, the engine almost looks like it's meant to be in there. The only problems that I'm gonna have is actually with the master cylinder, getting the exhaust manifolds on and getting them in the right direction and how it's set up perfectly to be able to mount the turbo. However, I was able to get the engine in without touching the ABS and without actually moving the brake master cylinder. I just had to cut the shroud a little bit, as you'll see in the next video, to be able to get the exhaust manifold on. But other than that, everything fit with the New Age Hot Rods kit.
So finally got the engine in. Super excited about that. Like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you guys think. Do you like what I did with the engine? Do you like the accessories? Do you like my hair? Do you like my glasses? No? Do you like the color I ended up painting it? Do you like these tires I got back here? Let me know what you like. Let me know what you don't like too. Thank you very much, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.